This Seiko monster did not need a service. It needed a rebuild. New movement, new crystal, new seals, and a calendar swap that could go completely wrong. At the end, I'll show you if rebuilding a Seiko monster like this is worth it. I restore watches, sometimes every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. But monster rebuilds are different. They sit somewhere between a collectible and a tool watch, and all the decisions do matter. I'm Dennis, and this is Wheels and Watches DIY. I restore, rebuild watches the right way. No shortcuts, just real watchmaking. So the Seiko Monster appeared around the year 2000 using the true and tried 7S26, same as a Seiko SKX. There are two generations. The first one ran until about 2011 2012, and the second generation ran up until about 2018 or so. The biggest difference between the first and second gen, if I'm not mistaken, is that the second generation has a 4R36 movement, which has hacking and manual winding. So let's look at this watch. This watch looks pretty clean. There are some scratches and dings from normal wear and tear. It's a little dirty, but anything's possible given if you have the time, the tools, and the know-how. So let's check it all out, see if it could be serviced. So to me, when I look at watches, I really look at things like reliability. To me, reliability is what matters most. So I have decided to put a brand new movement into this watch, as well as new crystal and seals. This way, I'm not doubting anything. Everything is fresh, and this watch is ready to go. So we started by taking the rubber strap off and just looking at the watch itself. I found that the bezel on this particular watch is harder to remove compared to the SKX. Maybe it was just this specific one. I can't really comment because this is the first time I am working on a monster. So here we are using my handy dandy case opener. This is a heavy duty Bergeron clone, and it worked like a charm. Once I've adjusted it, it opened up the back case, no problem at all. So after we've taken out the stem, we take the movement out and we proceed to the usual disassembly. Here I'll point out that my hands remover tool did not really work. I found that the hands on the Seiko Monster were just a little bit too fat, so I opted out using my manual hand remover tools. By the way, both the hand remover that's more of a lever style like this versus all-in-one action tool, they're both Bergeron. At the end of the day, it's whatever works for you. As long as you're not damaging anything, you can use whatever you want. One thing I found on a Monster relative to some other watches from Seiko, the lume on it is absolutely insane. There's tons of lume. It lights up like a Christmas tree. And granted, if you haven't had any moisture on the inside of the watch. In this case, it appeared that the watch was in good shape. I didn't see any water intrusion whatsoever. So let's keep going. There is, by the way, there's no stamp on the back of the dial, and that's okay. Let's move on to disassembly of the case. After we pop the bezel off, we can proceed to taking out that little metal ring, which comes out without a hitch. The case itself was a little dirty, but not crazy. Then once we move to the crystal had some wear, some chips, so I decided to replace it with a replica, but I went with a sapphire crystal with the same profile, but clear AR on it. So overall, like I said earlier, decision was either to A, just service the movement and give the watch completely new seals and a new crystal, or add a brand new movement. So in this case, given time and money, I thought it would be cheaper and better to give it a new movement. This is not a collector's piece in a sense that, you know, somebody buys a watch and just looks at it. This is a workhorse. So again, in this case, I look for reliability, and we're not going to get into the inferiority of 7S26 versus the 4R. I just try to keep the watch as original as I can be, and just trying to keep it straightforward, keeping the cost to a minimum. So here we are. So now we proceed to disassembling the calendar works. Word of caution, these screws are absolutely tiny. So take extra care not to lose them. I always make sure that my screwdrivers are dressed before I start working on the watch, especially if I was working on something else before, who knows. That way I'm not second guessing myself. That way you're not gonna strip the tip, the head of that screw. This little gear, by the way, that you saw me take out, that needs to go on the brand new movement. And that will ensure that the weekday wheel spins correctly. We're gonna remove that little plate from the old movement, and we're gonna put the date disc as well as the weekday disc on the brand new movement, and then put it back together. So looking at the movement side by side, they look identical. They're both 7S26 and they're both version C. So the version C, I believe, is the last version of the 7S26. Believe it or not, you can still buy them brand new. You just have to spend a little money and do a little bit of research. I'm not sure about the US, but here in Canada, there's a few retailers that still carry them. It just depends how much they are charging. So price lists do fluctuate. But it's up to you. If that's, if you cannot find one, you can also buy a used movement and have it serviced, or if you are capable, you can service them yourself. There's lots of guys online that do it. Even if you have basic tools and a pretty basic setup with enough patience, you can totally do it. One of the biggest things when it comes to watchmaking, I find that you have to be in the right state of mind when you're working on watches. Anytime you feel frustrated or not in it, if you will, just put the project down. It's not worth it. Come back when you want to do it, when you feel in the right state. So that's just something that I've learned over time. So after I put the screws back in, I make sure that they're tight, but they're not over tightened. And that's something that you have to practice and you have to feel for. But as long as your screwdriver is dressed and you can feel the end of that thread on the screw, you'll be fine. Here's that little gear that's responsible for switching the weekday, and that's going in without a hitch. Now, my brand new 7S26 movement did come with a brand new C-clip that secures the wheel. I chose to use a brand new one, and the used C-clips I'll just keep for spare parts. You never know when you're gonna need it. So now we're moving on to the crystal, and this is a tough moment. I only bought one crystal, so I was very careful about how I install it, and I was very careful about the way I handled it. You could see me using my screw down press here. By the way, there is a little gasket that goes around the crystal, and it's sandwiched in between the crystal and the case itself. The tricky part is to make sure that the crystal is pressed in evenly and it's not lopsided. And I think I've done that. Now, the profile, and you'll see it right now, the crystal it has a little bevel on the edge, but it's domed. So I found that that's a bit different compared to something like an SKX009. So moving on, after this a little bit stressful part, now that the movement is sort of assembled, the calendar is back together, we are going to install the dial. By the way, the dial does not, it's friction fit, so you'll find the feet on the dial, they just go into a little slot and it comes right down. There's nothing really holding it. And then we move on to putting the hands on. Personally, I find that putting on hands sometimes can go smooth as butter, and other times is just not going well. In this case, it wasn't too bad. I always start by moving the hands forward past midnight. I wait for that date to click, and I install the hour hand first. Now, in this particular case, I was filming from a 45-degree angle as well, but I did not have that camera charged fully, so it died. So I cannot show you what this looks like from the side. So lesson learned. Next time I'll make sure everything's fully charged, and I'll be able to show from the side how the hands are installed, and more importantly, how a new tool, hand setting tool, is used and how quick and easy it is. I like a combination of just a manual hand setting as well as I like using the tool. So now you could see me that adjusting those hands. The hands are right at midnight, and I'm using that little tool I just talked about, and it's set, easy as pie. And then here we're going to check the function, and then we're going to slow this down. Did we get it right? We're going to get right to midnight, and the date just flips right on the money. So we've done what we needed to do, and we've done it well. So I am happy. Now all we need to do is to install the seconds hand. And for me personally, this wasn't too bad. I use a piece of Rodico to hold the hand, and then I use either tweezers with something like rubber tip on them, or a specialized hand setting tool to just slightly secure it. And then after I make sure that it's sitting properly, I press it down, and the hand is not going anywhere. So after another stressful moment of setting and installing the hands, we're gonna reassemble the case. And then in this particular watch, it wasn't too bad. Same rules apply. There is a little bit of a metal ring. It sits in between the case and the bezel, and that gives you that unidirectional rotation of the bezel. I was actually able to find some footage of me working from the side here. So I'm just aligning it and making sure that the metal ring, it has kind of 2 feet that align to 2 holes. Make sure that that's in. And then you just basically press the bezel into the case and it snaps. And after that, you should have smooth rotation, which we do. So well done. Now we're going to install the movement. We're going to case it, and this is always a stressful moment. I find, especially on an SKX compared to this one, the chapter ring sometimes moves on you, and you only notice it when everything's said and done. So If that happens, unfortunately, you have to take it out. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're into watches and you like things properly aligned, you're gonna take it out. You're gonna readjust things and you will install it again. So take a little bit of time and care to do so properly and you'll be just fine. So here we're just checking for function again after we installed the movement into the case and we got some new seals. So this is pretty much a finished product. So rebuilding overall, I think it improves reliability. If you ever resell the watch, it's going to improve that. And that's going to give you more control. You're not second guessing if something was missed. You're basically redoing the whole thing. So it's simple, it's cost effective, and it's right to the point. One thing I did not do, I did not pressure test this case. I don't have a pressure tester, so I'll just throw it out there. So really, I cannot say with 100% certainty that this watch is waterproof as it is right now. I need to test it. So even though I took all the proper precautions, I installed the seals and I lubricated them, unless you do that test, you cannot guarantee that. But outside of that, I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. That sapphire crystal is just amazing. The clarity on it is beautiful. I enjoy clear AR. I like how it looks from the sides. The bezel action is absolutely smooth. The date changes right at midnight. And then the weekday kind of follows later. But that's the intricacy of the 7S26 movement overall. So overall, I think this was an enjoyable experience. I think we've done pretty well for rebuilding a Seiko Monster for the first time. If you enjoy real builds, consider subscribing to my channel. I try to document every step of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing and maybe learn something. If I'm doing something wrong, apologies. I am not a real watchmaker. I'm just a hobbyist. I like tinkering with watches. But I try to tell everybody what I've done wrong, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and you don't make any. So overall, I really like that Seiko Monster. I think it turned out beautifully. I put it on this beautiful GL strap from Uncle Seiko. By the way, he has amazing products. If you haven't seen his stuff, go check it out. Again, my name is Dennis. This is Wheels and Watches DIY, and we'll see you on the next video.